I had one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had. I had with a very spiritually attuned, very smart friend of mine, and I was saying, I'm a man, and I hate lying, and I just want to be honest about it. Like people do, bad sexual stuff, and I don't, but I don't judge that much because you're like, yeah, we're all in the wrong circumstance capable of anything. But I said to this person, I don't get the like underage girl thing. That's like, they're not into it. They're kids. Maybe I have too many kids or something. I'm not being self-righteous, I'm just being honest.
No,
I just don't get that. I don't see any appeal at all.
It's a pathological obsession. I mean, Epstein was into girls with braces specifically.
Exactly. So what is that? And the conventional explanation is, maybe I'm being too honest, but I think this is really revealing because it's not about sex. It's a spiritual thing. And I said, what is that? And this friend of mine said, it's the thrill of destroying innocence. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And that is the definition of evil. That is Satan right there.
It's
taking something pure. I guess this is maybe, I'm the only person who never thought of this. Maybe you already have. I had not thought of that. I was like, it's not just a sexual attraction. Like, oh, I think, underage girls with braces are hot. They're not. No normal person thinks that. That's bizarre. No, the idea is that I'm destroying something that's pure.
Yeah, and throughout history.
Well, that's Satan acting. Sorry.
Throughout history, people have looked at that as something that confers power. That's what child sacrifice
Exactly.
is, And where people get that idea, I don't know, but it's apparently deeply ingrained enough.
It's not an idea. It's a spiritual reality. And it's like the core of the Christian message where, Satan says at the end of the 40 days of temptation to Christ, we bow down before me and I'll give you all this power. And that's clearly the arrangement, which is explicit or not, but it's real not nonetheless, between leaders when they kill in a wanton way, which most of them do, and when they destroy beauty and innocence, you're doing that in exchange for power. And it is a real trade. Like, that's all real.
This is Edward Alexander Crowley, also known as Aleister Crowley. He styled himself the wickedest man in the world. He believed himself to be the great beast. And he changed his name to Aleister Crowley so it would add up in both English, Hebrew, and Greek Kabbalah as 666. In 1904, Crowley had a communication with an extraterrestrial being named Iwas. And this being, through his wife, kind of a channeling type operation, brought forth a book that was called the Book of the Law in 1904. And this book declared that the slain and risen God had stepped off the throne and that a new God, the crowned and conquering child, was taking his place. He was a brilliant genius. He could play 8 chess games blindfolded. He was an accomplished poet, mountaineer, painter, writer. He had so many Masonic degrees that you could fill up 5 pages of a book with them. This guy was probably the most highly honored Mason in the world. And he began doing rituals to bring forth this crowned and conquering child. And he began to start what he called the cult of the fascinating child. And in doing this, he uncovered, without knowing it, the royal secret of Masonry. And what happened was, a gentleman came knocking at his door after he published a book. And in this book, it was a book of poetry. And in the book, he had made an allusion to something. And this guy, his name was Theodore Royce. He was a German occultist and the head of the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis, which stands for the Order of Eastern Templars. There's the Knights Templar again. And this Theodore Royce told Crowley that he had given away the greatest secret in occult history. And Crowley said, "What do you mean? I don't even understand it." So the guy promptly initiated him on the spot to the 9th degree of the OTO and then explained the secret to him. And you're about to learn what this secret is. The secret is that as a Mason, you are promised immortality. Where do they get their promise of immortality? Simply, the secret that Crowley uncovered, probably through demonic intervention, is the secret that this immortality is conveyed through tantric sex magic. And the kind of sex magic that we're talking about here, unfortunately, is a sexual violation of a little child. Crowley taught that the way you could live forever was by vampirizing little children sexually. And this, I apologize that this is so horrible, but Masons are doing this. Not all Masons, please understand me. Probably 1 in 100 knows about this. But this is a significant enough problem that I feel compelled to share it with you. This is why the Masons believe that they will live forever. They think every time they defile a little child, they steal some of that child's youth. What happens then is they believe that they are accessing alternate universes, alternate realities where they can become as gods. There is a belief that through this sexual perversion, they can access these tunnels into alternate universes, alternate realities. And the goal of this kind of magic is to find your own universe and become the god over that universe. And then once you're the god of this universe, you can start sucking the energy out of it. And you can use that energy through this child to live forever and ever and ever. I mean, this is such a problem that we are actually, I now know of 5 national support groups that are helping people that are survivors of Masonic ritual abuse.
What is vital to consider is the significance of what occurred after Crowley's death and who followed his teachings, wholly or in part.
Crowley had many followers. He had followers through his magical organization, the OTO, which still exists today. He also had people who were very interested in him, who carried on his tradition. For example, Timothy Leary, who people perceive as a guru, but he was also an illuminate of Thanateros, which is an offshoot of Crowley's kind of OTO and his magical practices. He copied a lot of Crowley's behaviors and what Crowley did. He attacked Christianity. He was a hedonist like Crowley. He visited the Great Pyramid of Cheops and stayed in there much like Crowley did. He also traveled to Algeria where Crowley emulated the magical practices or Enochian calls of John Dee and Edward Kelly. He carried Crowley's tarot deck wherever he went, and he actually he wrote a book called Confessions of a Hope Fiend, which is an inversion of 2 of Crowley's books called Confessions and Diary of a Dope Fiend.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves. You know, Crowley said he was in favor of finding your own self and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law under love. It was a very powerful statement. I'm sorry he isn't around now to appreciate the glories that he started.
L. Ron Hubbard said he was following on his tradition. He actually started his religion or his new Age ideal church, the Church of Scientology, on the day that Crowley died in 1947. These people have a great influence on the world. There was Jack Parsons, who was the head of the Agape Lodge, which was the OTO lodge out in California, and his scribe was actually L. Ron Hubbard. Charles Manson was a member of the Solar Lodge, which is an offshoot of the OTO. So Manson was very knowledgeable about these kind of practices, and he had an immense influence upon the 60s. Alfred Kinsey visited Aleister Crowley's Abbey of Thelema, which was his kind of the inversion of a church that he had in Cefalù, Sicily, and very dark rituals took place there. There were also musical followers, Jimmy Page, David Bowie, Ozzy Osbourne. There's his ideas suffuse J.K. Rowling's books by Harry Potter. And I haven't read all of her books, but her movies and what I've seen, the references to Flood and Sirius, these are all highly occultic references that indicate that she knows quite a bit more than she's telling the public. And these are books and movies that have been seen by billions of people. Ian Fleming was influenced by Crowley. He wrote the James Bond book. So it goes on and on. So they're still out here together. There's a commonly understood reference to Crowley and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
I was going to mention that. Of course, Crowley appears on the cover twice, didn't he?
I think I know just once, but there's also the kind of a story about the intro to Sgt. Pepper's. It says 20 years ago today, Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play, and somebody told me that was a reference to Crowley. It was 20 years ago today to that day that Crowley passed away. So 47 was when he died, and I guess the album came out in 67. So and Lennon himself was a known occultist. He would constantly go to occult bookstores in New York City, and had some of his writings, Imagine, and all these other songs and stuff reference a lot of occult subjects. So
Occult doctrines have led to the 1960s counterculture and led countless people down a path that has seen devastating results.